All right, what's good, everybody? So pretty much I watch all of 1989 except Heat episodes. Heat comes out on Sunday or Monday, something like that, and it started in fall of 1988. So technically, I didn't see all of Heat in 1988. So I kind of lied that I watched all of 1988, but I did see everything except Heat. So I don't think I'm missing anything because it's an extension of pay-per-views. And from what I've been noticing and checking, WCW had heat. So I don't know who started first, WCW or WWE back then, or WWF back then. Vince McMahon is, I thought he was a genius, but at the same time, he was trying to copy everything. And I think there was probably a lot of indoor and backdoor deals to scrutinize WCW with all their long-term contracts in order for Vince to actually take over the wrestling industry back in the late 90s. So I think that 1999 was a really phenomenal year. Most people say that it was the worst year from the Attitude Era, and I actually probably gonna eventually I'll probably will disagree. I have to see 2000, 2001, and half of 2002, which I think that's when the Attitude Era got pretty much um, like it was like it got transitioned to the other ruthless aggressive era. Now there's people that I'd say that 1997 was the best, the Attitude Era. 97 was mostly the last year for the golden era. So I don't understand why people say that 1997 was like the best. Yeah, for the last what 2.5 months or 2 months, it was the Attitude Era, but like it was not necessarily the Attitude Era. It was mostly the golden era, and what made Attitude Era become the Attitude Era was basically Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon and some of the other feuds. Um, you see kind of that kind of dying off in 2003. That's why the ruthless aggressive era started transitioning and changes. Um, so what I noticed in 1999 from the episodes is that Vince Russo did a phenomenal job in many things, and I don't know why he gets a lot of hate. But if I was a writer, I would change a lot of stuff. Like I would pretty much have 1999 as as a Vince McMahon versus Stone Cold Steve Austin or the Ministry. The Ministry idea was amazing. They would have added the Ministry and they would have extended that for most of the 1999. Like it died off what in 3 or 4 months. Like it was a good amount of a while that there was a good episodes for the Ministry. I think it was started in February and then and ended up somewhere in April or May of 2000, 1999, sorry. So it was like a good 3 to 4 months of the Ministry of Darkness storyline, and I feel like they should have extended, and I would have proposed Vince McMahon versus the Ministry of Darkness storyline as a staple for 1999, and I would have had Stone Cold Steve Austin not versus Vince, but versus The Rock. I would have that completely as a 1999, and I would sideline basically DX, and I think Triple H was not happy in 1999 because I've been hearing a lot of conspiracy theories about how Triple H was part of this elitist secret society group back then that pretty much was to be dominant in all of the wrestling. Half of them went to WCW, the other half stayed in WWE. Now Shawn Michaels got injured and he was mostly absent in 1999. And that was pretty much what like I think Triple H really was. I think he was meant to win the title shots, the WWE title shot in 1988. But since things didn't go well for whatever reason, I guess Vince wanted to focus more on having Stone Cold in there to have the ratings, and then at a very crucial moment where 1998 was a very competitive year for WCW and WWF back then. Um, yeah, many people think that 1998 was when it was the downfall of WCW. I kind of agree, but at the same time disagree. Um, I said something about Vince McMahon in a video, and I can't find that video. Like it literally vanished. Like I didn't took it down. YouTube didn't take it down. So I'm not gonna say exactly what I said about Vince, but I will say though that Vince is a genius and a horrible person at the same time. Like he he actually pushed a lot of the storylines as well. And people think that Vince Russo did everything. It was a combination of Vince Russo and the other helper were writers that were actually doing the sideline stories of 1999. And like I said, if they would have really had the um, storyline of mostly Stone Cold versus because we had that for like a good what 2 3 weeks, and the only reason The Rock stepped in really well in 1989 in the cards was because I heard stories or interviews that he talked privately and pushed Vince that he wanted a race and wanted to win as much money as Stone Cold, if not more. Like everybody wanted to have that $1 or $2 million a year contract. I think during WWF, I think Stone Cold was like one of very few people who were earning more than $500,000 a year. Don't quote me on that. I think that's where I saw it in an interview. That's a good thing about watching all these YouTube videos. That they're um, expressing some of the stuff that happens. That well, Vince McMahon did this, and this other person did that, and so I'm gonna talk about the pay-per-views. I will say that 1989 was a worse year than 1988. I have to agree to most people's standards. I was watching some of Reddit posts before I actually finished 1989, and when I started 1989, where most people was saying that 1989 was the black sheep of the year of the Attitude Era, and 1989 was not a good year. Some saying that half of 1999 was actually good and the other half was bad. And then I'm like, okay, I have to 100% agree with whatever whomever said that. And like I said, the only good thing that 1999 had better than 1998, in my opinion, was the pay-per-views. Not only the pay-per-views, the debuts of wrestlers coming into 1989, and doing new things. Like there was the first mud match. There was a first a lot of things in 1989, a lot. And most people don't give that 1999 credit for that. Like they just disregard 1999 and like, dude, there was a lot of new things that happened in 1999. And the only reason Vince actually changed the 1999 formula from 1997 and that 1997 was more traditional matches and 1998 was mostly less traditional matches, saying like there was always people coming in and running matches and running title shots, like they would intervene on behalf of other wrestlers. That was pretty much in 1988. So you'd see pretty much that in 1989 because I think Vince saw that WCW had that formula in 1987 and he wanted to transition that. And not only when he transitioned that formula, but he transitioned the Attitude Era into that as well. So 1997 was all about traditional matches and not only traditional matches, but it was like about mostly about tag teams and groups. Like you got the man, I forgot the name, like the Nation of Domination. You had this other group, the Road Warriors and other groups. Like it was a bunch. And in 1998, you had that, but it was kind of dying really quick. And in 1999, you kind of don't see that anymore. So that played really well. The dying of groups for um, DX and Triple H because they were known to be like very territorial and ganging up on people. Now, a lot of people put the WWF No Mercy at number one. I think that's actually one of the best matches, in my opinion. Not entirely sure if it was one of the best. WrestleMania was kind of but in my opinion, it was a similar match, WrestleMania to 1998. But in my opinion, this one was way better. The WrestleMania of '99 was way better than 1988. Um, like I said, the SummerSlam, like most of the SummerSlams, in my opinion, are like the goats of the. They never put them on top, but they're never in the bottom. Like SummerSlam pay-per-views, you can never go wrong in watching them. They have been good mostly of 1989 and the 2000s. I don't know how the SummerSlams are right now, if there is. But yeah, I probably have to put No Mercy. And let me see. Yeah, the King of the Ring was kind of disappointing in 1989 compared to 1998. I think that's probably one of the very few pay-per-views that was better in 1988. And I think that was the best pay-per-view in 1988. Hands down, some people putting, what was it, SummerSlam or some other. Oh, No Mercy. Like No Mercy dominated most of the 90 pay-per-views. In the 2000s was pretty much WrestleMania. I think it was WrestleMania and a combination of other ones I forgot. Royal Rumble. Let's see. I Quit match. Shamrock. No. Yeah, it was this one. And I think, dude, I really like this one. The St. Valentine Massacre. Um, it says steel cage match. Stone Cold Austin versus Vince McMahon. Yeah, so this was pretty much the last pay-per-view of an extension of 1998, and then after that, you mostly got transition. What was this in February, right? 1989. So if I can see the date here, that would be great. Let's see, read all. What the hell? It doesn't say the date. Yeah, I think this is on February. Yeah, 'cause that was the last time we saw the whole Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon and Vince McMahon kind of sided a little bit with Vince in like in a way, but not necessarily was the case. So I really like this one. The this one, yeah, Backlash was good. I'll probably put St. Valentine's and SummerSlam and No Mercy as like the best pay-per-views for me. Um, without a shadow of doubt, they tried to mimic the same thing that Mick Foley tried to do in 1989, but it kind of failed a little bit. And that's when I saw that 1999 actually, 1988 and onwards, summer of 98. I think WWE was on top of WCW because of Mick Foley actually dropping on top of the cage, and they wanted to replicate something like that in WCW, and they kind of did, but they failed miserably in several parts. I think they kind of tried doing that in 1989 or 2000, something like that. I have to see, but I seen some of the storylines of that, and then I watched this post. Somebody mentioned something about what's so good thing that happened in 1989. Mankind's title win. Yes, dude. Like Mankind should have won his title shot in 1988. The fact that it was mostly Stone Cold, and again, Vince McMahon wanted to actually protect uh the the ratings, and he wanted to compete as much with WCW, and he saw that a lot of people were so hyped on Stone Cold back then. But after Mankind actually dropped himself, Vince actually wanted to give the title shot to Mankind because Mankind actually wanted to. Well, he didn't want, but his wife wanted him to stop wrestling. So he pushed for another year because as soon as he fell in 1988, um, his family members were pressuring him to stop wrestling. So when he saw, when Vince saw that there was pressure coming from family members, he was like, you know what? I need to actually reward Mick Foley for actually helping me get ratings up there. And that's why he got his title shot and won in 1999, in my humble opinion. Because again, at the end of the day, there's a lot of politics involved in wrestling. The Ministry of Darkness, amazing, amazing. It's such a shame that it didn't last it that much. I probably have to say, might probably be the best um Undertaker. Some say that the early golden, what was it, the mid 90s, 93, 94, 95 was like the best Undertaker. It's probably had to be mixture of that and the 1999 Vince Undertaker, in my opinion. And the debut of Big Show, everybody forgets that Big Show started in 1989. The fact that he started wrestling and dude, he started like moving insanely quick. He was doing so many stuff that big wrestlers were not doing. Like there was a lot of stuff that people don't see or don't give credit for what wrestlers did in 1989. Like Big Show got on top of the turnbuckle in several times, man. Like it's crazy how much athleticism Big Show had in 1989. Title changes on Raw. There was a lot of people winning title changes. It was like less people having the Intercontinental Champion. It got moved more quicker around. The WWE Champion, or F, was pretty much got moved by several wrestlers. Mick Foley had it. Triple H had it. I think The Rock had it at one point. Stone Cold had it. I think Triple H, no, Vince McMahon freaking had it. And then he had it for like a week or something like that, and he gave it away. Who else had it in 1999? I think that was about it. Wait, Big Show had it as well. That's six. And I don't know if Kane had it. I have to say that's a maybe. Like I don't. I have a faint memory. I think probably Kane. If Kane didn't not have the WWF title shot, he had the tag team for sure. It had to be one of those two or both of them. The rise of Triple H. I feel like the rise of Triple H was supposed to happen in 1988, but the fact that Shawn Michaels got injured in 1998, like Triple H got screwed, man. Got screwed when Shawn Michaels got injured by Undertaker back in early 1988. Yeah, early 1988. So yeah, he was out of action all of 1988 and all of 1999. Yeah, we saw Shawn Michaels here and there, but it wasn't like most of the time. The hardcore title matches, dude, that was the best thing in 1999. The hardcore matches. 1999, the only that changed from 1988 is that Vince wanted to have matches outside the ring. Now, there's gonna be people saying that if you that outside the ring matches were like a horrible, it was bad. It's like the same people who watch old school wrestlings that think, yeah, there's people that think the Attitude Era was when wrestling started going downhill. Most of these people are like in their mid 40s and up, and they grew up watching as a kid, watching 80s wrestling. Um, and some of the older folks that are in their 60s, 70s saw wrestling in their 60s and 70s. And to a greater extent, like wrestling was actually not that bad in the late 70s, early 80s. I was watching a few matches here and there, and like I said, that was mostly traditional matches. And the whole traditional match died off in 1997 when the Attitude Era began. And again, you can blame WCW for that because they were doing that. The ratings for WCW were up the roof, and I have to say that was probably part of it. I don't think it was most of it. I mean, it had to do with some wrestlers as well that were pushing in the hype for WCW back then in 1997. So, the rise of Triple H, I actually did not like the rise of Triple H in 1999. I felt like he should have rose up in 1988, but he would have had a tag team or something different before moving into the title shot right away. Like the fact that he moved to the title shot, but it took him a while, man. Like I saw his frustration that he wanted to win, and some people say that Triple H was the best heel in wrestling, and in today's standards, he's probably the heel right now because he's not helping out TKO slash WWE in a way. A lot of people got mad when he showed up when John Cena was actually was about to well pretty much left WWE on his last match. And again, the hardcore matches, it was the one that what's his called? Was it Bell Venus versus? Dude, that was one of the best matches of 1999. Bell Venus versus the guy that says head. What's his name? Oh fuck, I forgot his name. The guy that had like a head thing. I forgot his name. I remember his name, but I just forgot. And I think let's see if I can see the hardcore match here. Hardcore. Was it Backlash? Let's see. The Brood, Acolytes, Shamrock. No. Hardcore. Oh, it was this one. Hardcore Holly versus Al Snow. Yes. It was Backlash. No, never mind. I put Backlash. I probably put Backlash as number one. Was the best match for me. Like the fact that they were in the water and then Hardcore Holly got the like most people do not give credit to both Hardcore Holly and Al Snow, especially Hardcore Holly, man. They think he's a bum that he never won any matches, but the matches that he was on, especially the hardcore ones, were really good. And then Big Show ended up pushing the card and what pushing it, and then it fell. Those were back. I think that was a hardcore match as well, dude. The hardcore matches are the best thing on 1999. Prove me wrong in the comments, man. The Rock's huge face turn and popularity boost. Again, that was because of New Year's when he started off. He wanted to actually win as much as Stone Cold, and just like he wanted to win. If The Rock did not get pushed to the top bracket, I feel like Triple H would not get pushed because he saw that, hey, this guy came along the same time that I came in. I think Triple H started what, 95, 94, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I think it was 95. The Rock started in 1986, so almost around the same time. And then you had The Rock moving in the top card much quicker than Triple H. I think that really pissed off Triple H, man, because I like the only reason Triple H never got into the top card was because Owen, no, Bret Hart actually badmouthed him that he never saw him as a title holder. And back then, again, if the top guys thought something, Vince McMahon listened, and that's pretty much why Triple H never was on the top cards, in my opinion, because of Bret Hart. And to this day, I think Bret Hart and Triple H don't like each other, man, because Triple H did not like the fact that his career wasn't pushed earlier as quick as he wanted to, thanks to Bret Hart. And like I said, man, there's a lot of wrestlers that ended up screwing other people just because of one, and I think that was like karma because Shawn Michaels did that to so many wrestlers. Like Shawn Michaels did it to Bader, yeah, Bader, and he did it to other wrestlers that could have had title shots and we could have been champions, man. But freaking politics of people blackmailing people behind closed doors on WWE back then, it was a known thing. Like like people think, oh, everything's fake, yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that happens. And just like many jobs, man, you got politics. You got people that wanted to be kiss ass and want to be on top, and they blackmail other people. The debate of Stephanie McMahon, I feel like this kind of ruined 1999 in my opinion, man. Like they would have sidelined Stephanie. They would have never pushed Stephanie into like strong main cards. after the Ministry of Darkness and the end of 1989. I don't know whose awful idea was to put her on top of the storylines. Like, I'll explain why. Let me keep on going with here. Commissioner Michael's face turn. This was very few. Like, it's not a big deal here, so I'm just gonna ignore that. More divas joined the roster when rebooted. Dude, 1999 I finally had chicks that were like freaking decent. Like, dude, this diva called Kitty. I forgot her name, but she went by Kitty in WWF. And then she had blonde hair, and then she put a wig, I think, with black. Reminded me of Xena the Warrior because of she was popular back then in 1989, and China had black hair as well. And I guess they wanted to keep that Xena vibes in there, but dude, Kitty wrestler, dude. There's a pay-per-view. I forgot which one is it. Was it Unforgiven? I think it was Unforgiven. I think it was this one. It was one of the later years. I think it was in October, November. Dude, Kitty has, you can see her upskirt, dude. And I actually zoom in. I'm sorry, I mean, I think most guys that watch wrestling who watch Divas, they zoom in and see. And I paused it, dude. I don't see nothing down there. The fact that nobody talks about it. And again, people are like, well, the pixels, you can't see that well. Well, a lot of the stuff that you see on the websites, like they're at 480. I watch on a website where I'm watching at 1080, so it upscales the frames a little bit. I'm not gonna say website because if I start linking shit up like that, the website's gonna get taken down, man. And that's how I actually ended up coming into the conclusion. Well, back then people had more crappy CRT TVs, and it was like a split second, like a good a second or two. And if she had something, it was probably a G string, man, like very very small, where you can see down there, if you know what I mean, when it's very tight. Anyways, let's move on here. The APA, what the fuck's the APA? I'm trying to see if I can remember this. The Acolyte, no, no, APA. Fuck. I don't know who's the APA. The Hardy Boys leave their jobber status and become a proper tech team. I don't know what they mean by jobber status, but yeah, the Hardy Boys, the Hardy Boys had one of the best matches at the end of 1999. With Sean, no, with Edge and Christian. They were really good matches in my opinion. Um, the debut of the Dudley Boys, I'm not a big fan of the Dudley Boys, and they didn't do anything surprisingly in 1999. I hear that they have the best matches ever in WWE. I think it's 2000 or 2001 where the matches were really well for the Dudley Boys, but I'm not entirely sure which year. But it had to be one of those 2 years, or 2002. But yeah, 1999 they didn't do anything good, and I'm not a big fan of Dudley Boys. There's a big fan of fanfare for them because they did so much hardcore matches. The rise of Edge and Christian, just like the Hardy Boys. Edge kind of injured a wrestler in 1999. He ended up falling. That's why he stopped doing a lot of like flying moves because he's tall, had big boots. So I think they ended up changing his style in order to prevent him from injuring other more wrestlers or injuring himself as well. Because most of the people who fly are like wrestlers that are like 5'10" and down, man, like short wrestlers. Like those 6'1" and tall guys, they rarely do that, man. I don't know if you guys have paid attention. Like you would see everything in 1980 and the 90s. But now, like in the mid to late 2000s, like it was more like, well, you have to do this. If you're this high, you have to do that. And there was a lot of injuries in 1999. I think there was more injuries in 1999 than there was more in 1998. So that was something that a lot of people don't talk about, the injuries. And the butt of SmackDown, I honestly didn't think this was a good idea. The fact that Vince McMahon pushed so much shit in 1999 in order to compete against WCW, he had what, like WCW had heat, I think, and WWF had heat. And then WWF started SmackDown as an extra show, and I think that's what pissed off Vince Russo, because there was more overtime to push for wrestling. So as opposed to doing one show or two shows per week, because it was like Monday Night Raw and then the pay-per-views, you had another episode to do. So it was three episodes that people had to do. So it was like more time consuming for both the writers and wrestlers. So Vince McMahon did not like that. And back then in SmackDown, dude, when it started, SmackDown did not start as, oh, there's a roster of SmackDown. Oh, there's a roster for Raw. No, the same roster that you had for Raw and SmackDown was the same thing. So there was way more work back in 1989 for wrestlers. Like they had to really work overtime. I think probably had to be one of the hardest moments to be as a wrestler back then. Very demanding. There wasn't that there wasn't that good net pay. There wasn't that much benefits in the late 90s either. I think the benefits and all of that started somewhere in the early 2010s, if I'm not mistaken, or late 2010s. That's when the A&W was started kicking in and they were starting to compete with some of the stuff that wrestlers. Yeah, because for many years, dude, a lot of wrestlers had to pay their hotels, their motels. They had to pay in their mileages to move from place to place. Like everything was expenditures that you had to put in according to wrestlers. And I did my research. Yeah, that's actually true. The X-Pac and Kane, bad idea. I did not like that. China title win. Yeah, so China, um, I think they really massacred China. Like they massacred not only China, but they massacred Test. When Vince Russo left, China had the like Triple H came in full force and wanted to win the title. And I don't know if he won the title in August or September when Vince Russo was coming in, but I think Vince Russo was already had in his mind, you know what? I need to move to SmackDown because WWE is becoming so demanding. When did WWE SmackDown started? I think it was an episode in March, and then after that it was in July, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, August. Okay, so it was on March or in April there was an episode, and then I guess they were testing the waters on how it was gonna be, and then ended up becoming a thing in August, and that's when I think Triple H ended up winning the title shot. Um, I think that's when Vince Russo actually kind of stopped giving up on writing when he find out that there was gonna be SmackDown, and yeah, and the debut of Chris Jericho. Like all the wrestlers that were coming in 1999 were pretty much what most people think of the Attitude Era is. Chris Jericho, The Rock, Stone Cold, um, Kurt Angle, Big Show, like these wrestlers. Like 1998, I liked it because a lot of these wrestlers were not present. But I don't know, there was something good about 1988 that I liked. Like there was so many underrated wrestlers in there, and there was a lot of the wrestlers that were coming in from WCW and what's the other one? ECW coming in full force in 1999. Uh, Rakishi too cool. I think that was like the only decent, one of the decent things that happened in late 1999. Austin, time off, which gave others guys a chance to main event. Yeah, yeah. I think Stone Cold got injured, and then Undertaker got injured. The fact that Undertaker got a groin injury, and I think Austin got an injury around summer of 1999 after the Ministry of Darkness storyline, I think that helped tremendously push big Triple H into becoming the main card. But not only that, I think Vince Russo leaving WWE slash F was one of the main reasons that Triple H ended up pushing. Because I think Vince Russo and Triple H did not like each other, man. The debut of Kurt Angle, and then yeah, the Kurt Angle. Like I said, there was a lot of good matches with hardcore matches. So yeah, Vince Russo left in October 3, 1999. That's when like those 3 months of 1999, October, November, December, horrendous, man. And just because those 3 months were bad does not mean that 1999 was the black sheep of the Attitude Era. I have a feeling that 2000 is just gonna be really bad. It's gonna be pretty much what most of 1999, half of 1999 is. Horrible story, horrible episodes, but amazing pay-per-views. And 2000, well, I'm getting too ahead of 2000. I'm not gonna talk about 2000. And then the guy that ended up doing the writing after Vince Russo left was Chris Christie. I forgot how he looked. I think it was a chubby guy. Ended up seeing it on TV when they were talking about him that he passed away back in 2000 what? Yeah, 2005. I remember because I was watching wrestling back then in 2005 on live TV, and they were mentioning about Chris Christie and about his writing legacy and stuff like that. Um, something like that. I don't know what was the cause of his death, man, but I think there was something here. Lung and brain cancer. There you go. Kind of died relatively young, man. He was like in his what, 40s? Yeah, he was what, 40, 47, 48, around there. 42 when he died. Yeah, he was 42 when he died. Let's see. And then Maben and so many people over the past 2, 3 weeks have been saying, "Oh, WWE is in trouble." They started saying WWE is in trouble when they saw the really miserably like like last match of John Cena, and then the same thing with AJ Styles. And then when they saw a pattern when not only John Cena left, but AJ Styles also left, I'm like, okay, it is not looking good. People are not liking these pay-per-views, and they're really hating. So they started connecting the patterns of WWE becoming in trouble in 2025. And what made 1999 so successful was that Vince McMahon pushed pushed for a lot of good writing, for a good uh giving chance to wrestlers. And I think WWE can have an opportunity now that there's a lot of these old wrestlers that are leaving, just like WCW had nothing but old wrestlers. So you want to give people um face like the Shield when 2012 came along. They didn't like the Shield, they hated it, but then the Shield became like popular 2000 late 2013, 2014. Like people had to adjust after a year or two where they started liking the new wrestlers coming in. So I feel like WWE is gonna be on its worst moments right now. I think 2027 is gonna be worse. Not necessarily because of the storyline, but because of the economy. They're charging so much right now that I hear for the per tickets. And I think they need to go back to the transition of there was in the late 90s. I think the matches that I saw in 1999, late 99 pushed like the late 2000s. That's when they had the maximization of wrestlers um, getting pushed so much, and then the people attending going from what 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 people to like 15, 20, 30,000 or more than that. Like it was getting ridiculous. The big ass stadiums that Ben's pushed. So They need to go back with something smaller, how they were back in the 90s. I think 93 when the golden era started, that's when they moved, pushed for a bigger stadium with people watching wrestling, and then they pushed 98, 99. They pushed for something bigger, and then 2006, 7, they pushed for something more bigger. So they need to scale it down, in my opinion. And I hear that TNA is making a comeback. So I feel like A&W right now is kind of in trouble because they're like the TNA how they were at one point where a lot of people were not giving much attention. TNA was like a thing in the late 2000s. That's when a lot of people stopped watching wrestling. I wasn't. I was one of them, but I was tired of watching John Cena win back in 2007, so I started watching TNA. Back then, TNA was coming on Spike TV, and then I guess the ratings went down in the early 2010s, and they stopped airing it. I think in 2014, from what I saw. Yeah, 2014. And then A&W, the ratings are like steadily. They're basically WCW is basically the TNA right now of the late 90s, 99, and then A&W is basically the TNA in the mid 2000s where most people didn't know about TNA. It was like mostly about WWE only. And ECW got bought by WWE back in 2005 or 6. Or before that, but it was around there. So, yeah, I'm gonna cut this video. Let me know if you think that 1999 was a good year. I feel like 99 was a phenomenal year. It could have been way better, but again, the writing kind of ruined the careers for China and Test, and they ended up really not the writing and Vince, a combination of Vince and the writing ended up making those two wrestlers ended up dying because they pushed China to be a useless female on that storyline, which was very like it should have been a thing, man. The fact that that got pushed in late night 1989 tells you a lot. Like you won't see that shit anymore. Like Triple H said that pretty much saying that China's useless. AJ Styles, wait, was it AJ Styles or what's his name? The blonde dude, I forgot his name. That guy ended up saying that China's only good thing is that cooking and reproducing and women shouldn't be in wrestling. And then JBL, no, not JBL, what's his name? Chris Jericho was saying the similar shit. So different wrestlers were pushing the narrative of China and women being useless in wrestling. It was mostly targeted though, at China. And then Test ended up getting humiliated so much that ended up getting pretty much the chick Stephanie McMahon, and the fact that Stephanie was in a good storyline with Test about the love affair, and then he got trashed and pushed us to the side. And it's a damn shame that both China and Test ended up dying from an overdose. You can say it's probably like a suicide because they didn't get the proper help, they didn't get the proper support, and I feel like that was the worst thing of 1999. The writing that ended up destroying so many wrestlers. Owen Hart died because of 1999, the fall of of his death. And like I said, there's a lot of conspiracy theories revolving around if that death was on purpose and other stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna cut this video. Hopefully, you guys let me know in the comments if you think that 1999 was a horrible bad year. I think the pay-per-views and the hardcore matches were so good, man. And again, 1999, a very underrated year in my opinion. Have a good one, guys.